Chapter 5, Business to Business, also deals a lot with supply chain management. And as you can see in the title here, improving efficiency and reducing costs, that's kind of the major thing that we're going to want to take away from this, is that there's a lot of systems that can help you automate, improve productivity, and so on. So let's get going with this. I want to start off by refreshing your memory about what supply chain is and what supply chain management is. So essentially, let me just go through a couple of quick visuals here. So basically, it's from soup to nuts. You start with your raw materials, they go through processors, ultimately they may go to the manufacturing facility, and then logistics to the retailers and to the consumers. That's the supply chain. I'm going to show you a couple more. What is this one? Nothing specific, but okay, again, so raw materials, different suppliers, going to suppliers, going to manufacturers, going to distributors or wholesalers, to retailers, customers, and possibly, sub-customers. Another one, here's a bicycle. So this is a little bit perhaps easier to understand. So we're making bicycles. You need aluminum, you need tires, and then they would get raw materials even farther down the supply chain, let's say from rubber plantations or whatever. The brake manufacturers would also get raw materials at other places, accessories, packaging. So you can see this is really only a partial supply chain. It actually goes farther back when you start getting into the raw materials for each of these sub-processors. But anyway, so this bike manufacturer gets in these either raw materials or sub-components, work in process, and they get produced, and then they distribute it to retailers, goes to retailers and customers. I think you're probably starting to get the idea now. Let me get out of this for a second. I want to just show you a couple of videos. Sometimes it's easier to see this in video format. So let me show you a few videos to show you. This is just a quick overview of what supply chain management is.
And from customers, and an increased expectation for responsiveness as the supply chain itself is becoming more complex. You need to manage these challenges, often with less inventory, in supply chains that are spread across the globe. To thrive, demand-driven supply chains must sense customer demand signals and respond in real time. And for effective supply chain execution, leverage state-of-the-art management solutions for all shipping, storage and fulfillment, and compliance needs. Big data solutions from SAP enable monitoring of huge volumes of internal and external supply chain data in real time. This can include information about orders, shipments, and point-of-sale purchases. Supply chain professionals can then perform high-speed what-if analysis and KPI tracking against supply chain information. With new real-time visibility, analytics, and execution capabilities provided by SAP HANA, companies can completely rethink their supply chain and its processes and start treating exceptions as standard. The impact of real-time visibility, execution, and analysis is magnified by new models on how we deliver, access, use, and visualize data. SAP Analytics enable advanced modeling and give insights into every aspect of the supply chain, from assessing downstream demand and improving new product launches, to monitoring stock positions and measuring business partner performance. Mobility solutions give always-on access to status reporting and alerts when and where you need them, while cloud-based solutions from SAP allow fast, low-risk deployment. For over 40 years, SAP has been helping the world's leading companies improve their supply chain. Today, innovation from SAP offers you real-time management and the opportunity to rethink your processes. So take your supply chain to new levels of responsiveness, efficiency, and customer service with SAP.
Okay, there were a couple of inferences in that one. Number one, that supply chains are becoming more complex because with the internet, there's the ability to source your raw materials, semi-finished goods, and so on across the globe. And similarly, your work in process, your manufacturing facilities could also be across the world, and your customers could be across the world. So the complexity becomes great. The other inference in that I hope you saw was that we've seen trends in analytics, artificial intelligence, big data, and so all of that is being used to mine huge volumes of data throughout the supply chain to look for trends, to maximize procurement for efficiency, cost, reliability, getting things to the work in process to the manufacturers, in the most efficient, effective way, and similarly, the whole logistics distribution part of it, getting that most effectively to other work in process manufacturers, to suppliers, to retailers, and so on to customers. So it adds up to a lot of big money when you look at the immensity of the supply chain. So on that, let me show you just a couple more quick videos. So if you think about those pictures I showed you of the supply chain, it usually, in theory, starts with procurement. You have to source, find, and then obtain your raw materials to make whatever you're going to make. So here's a nice little quick video about e-procurement. And again, remember that our whole theme of this is efficiency, effectiveness, cost reduction, productivity, and so on.
We live in a digital and networked economy. We can answer questions,
James,
connect to networks, and connect to real-time information.
here we go.
And then we go to the office and step back in time.
Yo, Jim.
Try to poison my coffee. Oh. I've got to
Ariba. Yeah, that's one of the giant procurement companies, probably the leading one. So, okay, the inferences from that is, again, going back to the trends we've talked about, a cloud-based system that is integrated in, a data warehouse environment where you have software that automates all your processes, starting with searching for and approving vendors. So you have them in the system, their capabilities, everything is stored. When you need something, basically you send out, at the click of a button, a request for bid for 20,000 pounds of something from the approved vendors. They send back their bids. It's automated. The system calculates the pricing and the delivery times and the quality levels and all that stuff. And you can automate that so that things happen in seconds or minutes instead of weeks. And then, of course, the other inference of that is that now all things should be mobile and let's see, I said cloud-based, mobile, big data analytics. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. So anyway, procurement is a huge part of it. At the University of Maine, there's an Office of Strategic Procurement, and they have found that by using software to compare vendors, to use automatic bidding and so on, they can save millions and millions of dollars. And so when you get into huge companies like General Electric or Boeing or Hannaford or whatever, that becomes huge in terms of the ability to analyze, evaluate, automate the procurement process. It is absolutely huge in saving you money and getting better quality products and so on. Okay, so that was that. Now let me switch to the other end of it. So we had procurement, we have manufacturing, and then we have distribution. Actually, so distribution, actually, when you're procuring the stuff, the whole logistics part of that can also be huge in terms of time and money. So both incoming procurement, all throughout the different stages of the supply chain, logistics plays a part. So logistics is also huge. So let me show you this one here.
We've all heard that UPS loves logistics, and it must be true. With more than 16 million packages delivered every day, UPS is the world's largest package delivery service. But while logistics can get a package from point A to point B, UPS constantly searches for new ways to get it there more efficiently. Here in Gettysburg, UPS has deployed an advanced analytics system that's already made a dramatic impact on the bottom line.
We've gone from descriptive analytics to predictive analytics with the goal to get to prescriptive analytics. And the system we're starting to deploy now is called Orion. It stands for On-Road Integrated Optimization and Navigation. To date, with our descriptive and our predictive work, we've seen a reduction of 85 million miles driven a year. We've seen about 8 million gallons fuel less that we've purchased. In addition, that's about 85,000 metric tons of CO2 not going up into the atmosphere, as well as vehicle parts not being wasted and rubber on tires not being used.
Once a package enters the UPS system, strategic planning takes place at every step, from the order that items are loaded on every package car to the route that each driver will take.
We know going out the door exactly how many packages we have, what the volume is that we have for the day, and how many stops and customers that we have to service on any individual day.
Orion has given us the ability to have things mapped out for us in a predetermined way. It saves a lot of time in sorting, physically sorting the packages. The goal originally was to save 1 mile per day per driver, and right now the program is working very well.
For a project of this scope to be a success, collaboration with IT is critical.
It's not an intuitive thing. You have to make it easy for the operator to be able to enter, configure, and get the results that they expect. So we had to be arm in arm, hand in hand, watching the operators go through it, making sure we understood what they were doing so that we could help build solutions that would guide them to the right data input.
With this laser-like focus on improving efficiency, the power of Orion is helping UPS and everyone on the delivery route.
What we did internally to reduce cost also turned into an external benefit to our customers, which is what it's all about, right? If we can reduce our cost to serve and provide better services, our customers want to stay with us, and we can do it at a price that they can afford. I think analytics on top of our information infrastructure truly makes the company more effective than we had been in the past. It makes us truly different. We do love logistics, we do love analytics, and when you put all those together, I think that's magic.
All right, I think that one was pretty self-explanatory. The only thing I'd like to remind you of in that one was their emphasis on innovation, never-ending quest for better systems, more efficiencies, and using emerging technologies to your advantage. Okay, so we had procurement, logistics, and the other big piece in the supply chain is the actual production. I like this one. It's because I feel like it's easy to relate to, and it gives you kind of a nice visual of what an information system can do to improve a manufacturing process. This one happens to be beer brewing, so that's kind of a fun thing.
Our production schedule gives us a visual representation of what's happening in production. If I take a look at what each color represents in my legend, you can see brown is brewing. So here's the 3 turns that I scheduled today in my brew house. And we can also see all the other activities like dry hopping and barrel aging or whatever it may be. Now I also have the ability to go ahead and filter things. So if I only want to take a look at brewing, fermentation, filter brands. If I only want to take a look at my amber ale. If you have multiple locations, we can do that as well. And we can also go ahead and have this color-coded by brand instead of color-coded by process by flipping the switch. When I do that, you can see all of a sudden the same production orders are still there. It's just the view is color-coded by process. All of these production orders you can actually drill down to the source production. So I can drill down and see exactly a production order where I'm going to do a 30 barrel batch, and here's what my recipe is going to call for. Again, what may happen in production will be different every time. We'll take a look at that in the next step. But you can see that, and also what dates and times we have it scheduled for. I can go ahead and manipulate my production schedules. I can go ahead and take the last one and move it over to tomorrow. And any change that I make will get reflected on the source document. Now it's been scheduled for the 10th instead of the 9th. I can go ahead and move it back if I wanted to, and again, any change that you make can be reflected there as well. I can also take a look at this color-coded by week. We can see that we have the 3 turns scheduled at these times. I can always move things out a half an hour. Any change that I make will go ahead and get reflected on the source document. We've now scheduled this for a half an hour later, and you can see the time and so on. I can also take a look at a warehouse view. My warehouse view shows me everything by tank. So we consider tanks warehouses because they store liquid volumes. And so you can see all of our fermenters and bright tanks here on the left-hand side, and we can see the fermentation lead times just span out based off of how many days it has left in fermentation. Now if you recall, I created my production order with a default warehouse. It's right here, it's F99, and the reason is because I can plan a whole bunch of production orders and then come to the schedule to see when I can actually schedule the fermenters, right? When I'm going to have fermenters available and which ones. So the way I do that is just simply drag and drop it, and we'll go ahead and schedule this one for fermenter number 3. We're going to also go ahead and dry hop it in that same fermenter, and so on. So you can create a queue in F99 and then basically come through and make the decisions on how you're going to, which tanks you're going to utilize and so on, and that's as simple as, you know, just dragging and dropping. You also have the ability to extend fermentation. So if you want to take it the tail end.
Okay, I think you got the point. So what I hope you got from that, the point behind this one is that this is, you know, a brewer. You would think, oh, how complicated it could be to brew beer, but then you can see all the complexity for each of the different brews. And if you notice, he was talking about when he started scheduled a brewing a certain type of beer, it automatically brought up the ingredients, which then in theory should trigger the procurement software to order the hops and the barley and whatever else they needed and the special flavors and so on for that particular type of beer. And then during the brewing process, whatever you talk about, the dry hopping and the fermentation, all that stuff, think about how much data you would have to keep track of, and how am I going to do that? So the idea of these the software keeping track of all this stuff for you is huge. And again, this is pretty simple. I mean, relatively speaking, think about if you were Boeing and you were making a 7, what do they make now? 747s are old, but whatever the newest one was, instead of 747, the thousands, hundreds of thousands of pieces that go into that, and all the different parts of the production process. And I mean, unbelievable how complex that would be. How can you do that without a software to keep track of all the stages, when you need what, when you need to schedule certain equipment? And so I hope you're getting a sense of the immensity of production and why this kind of software is just huge and can save you so much time and money and reduction in errors and so on. So, okay, there's that. So, I will, let's keep going. All right. Oh, actually, I shouldn't keep going. Just a couple of trends. Let me go back to this here. All right. So some B2B e-commerce trends. Basically, in this one, they were talking about that B2B is actually starting to mirror B2C, where this was actually this is a Pepperry is a software, supply chain management, B2B e-commerce software. So they're talking about, okay, mobile, just like in B2C, is taking off, improving the customer experience. Actually, it's a lot of stuff we talked about. This particular software basically creates almost a B2B environment for you. You can see it's very similar, except for things like multi-currency you might not see so commonly in a B2C, and specialized trade promotions and specialized pricing with different vendors and so on. But anyway, so actually let me get out of that and let me go on to this. Oh, no, not that one. Here we go. This is what I want. Technology trends in the digital supply chain. Okay, so they will evolve and operate as digitally connected grids. So that whole idea of transparency and seamless transfer of data throughout the supply chain. Linear supply chains will be replaced by sophisticated cross-enterprise networks or grids surrounding the customer. Massive amounts of pertinent information will be available across the entire supply chain. So again, if you have a General Motors and you've got hundreds or thousands of suppliers in different stages in the process, if you can connect your different suppliers and your different facilities in a seamless digital grid where they all get the information they need when they need it, then that makes the process a lot more efficient. This is just kind of interesting. Younger, more tech-savvy professionals will transform the workplace, and that's kind of also, the demand for, it actually goes back to that video we just saw about stepping into the office and going back in time instead of having a mobile cloud-based workplace. So kind of reinforces that. Okay, Internet of Things and big data will become routine. So remember, the Internet of Things, having a sensor-based system. So in your supply chain, if you can automate the system to where you have sensors that record what's happening where you are in stages, and that gets transferred into procurement and logistics and so on, then you can make it a lot more efficient and effective. See, mobility will become the norm. We talked about that. Okay, that's about it. All right, so anyway, just to give you some other, reiterations or reinforcements of that, I just want to show two other quick videos about supply chains. This one, it's just to show how making your supply chain automated, making an e-supply chain, a digital supply chain, is where the future is going.
A supermarket for farmers. De Laval operates in more than 100 markets worldwide, manufacturing and distributing everything farmers need to produce milk. From milking machines to accessories, spare parts and consumables, dairy farmers really can buy it all from us. We're a full-service supplier, and it's this that defines us and the way we work. Take consumables, for example. They must be delivered regularly using a process that runs like clockwork and that our customers can rely on. The customer projects we develop quickly turn into investments, running into the millions, making it essential that farmers can count on us. Simple track and trace is not enough to guarantee this. We've worked hard to develop and define milestones or scheduled time slots for completing our processes. SAP Event Management now monitors these schedules for us 24/7 and alerts us if there's a discrepancy. We have 18 plants worldwide and several hundred suppliers, saying that the largest, 30 to 50 of these, account for around 80% of all our supplies. When we introduced the SAP Event Manager tool, our plan was to focus on exception management. This project proved relatively challenging and saw us consolidate KPIs, processes, and system support. I only have to deal with the tasks that flash up in red, as the rest take care of themselves as planned. In fact, this system has become highly reliable. We're not afraid of making our supply chains transparent. We monitor our processes and services we provide to our customers extremely rigorously. This also involves measuring the performance of our suppliers and freight forwarders, as well as our various warehouse processes. However, our end customers are not interested in our individual processes, but rather in how they come together. This is why we're going to continue working with ERP, APO, BI, and EM, and so forth. The way in which all these systems interact with each other and quickly provide us with the information we need is definitely one of the greatest benefits of SAP.
All right. Now we'll show you one last one about innovation in the supply chain. And you probably all know IKEA, so this is kind of a fun one.
I'm Pam Andrews. I'm a DC manager for IKEA North America.
My name's Greg Miller. I've worked with IKEA for 18 years now in September.
The fact that we own the supply chain from production right the way through is what makes it significant. We really want our team leaders to manage the business, and you can't manage a business sat at your desk running it from your laptop there. So we put the laptops on bikes, so they're working real time with the co-workers out on the floor.
We have a palletless decking solution in our conventional racking that essentially takes the wood pallet out of the picture. Also, our fully automated silo is definitely a big piece of technology that we use and that is going to be put in the distribution centers as we build them.
Silo is a chosen piece of, you can really just say it's a huge computer. It's completely automated. It's the most productive part of our business. It's density storage for high frequency product that's sold. It adds value because of how efficient it is. And also there's so much less handling involved.
I think that you have to have new ideas all the time to keep the business and the people developing. So it's very, very important to change. I think that you're probably most successful if you're changing. And I think IKEA is really, really good at that.
Okay, so again, the point of automation, improvement, never-ending quest for innovation and improved efficiencies and so on. Okay, I think you're getting the point there. Alrighty, let's keep moving on here. Okay, so we've talked about all the benefits. It's not so easy to do. You have to find the right software. It has to be user-friendly. It has to fit with your company. So it's not like that build it and they will come kind of approach. It's really a deliberate strategy. You have to do your due diligence and really find the right software that works for you. Okay, so we talked about procurement. Here's just a nice visual of the complexity of procurement, where you identify your needs and you start searching and you're defining the requirements and you're sending out requests. And anyway, so it's quite complex. So if you can automate that in a system that once you do the initial vendor analysis and your initial procurement requirements, which of course you're going to update, but still, the more you can automate that and store all that information in a space that will do it for you rather than doing it manually over and over and over again and wasting time and energy, it's a good thing. Okay, so let's see here. We talked about logistics, support activities, and we'll get into this at the end. E-government, you probably noticed that most times people file their taxes online, you get your licenses online. The government is actually going to almost everything online to automate things. California's portal, Maine actually has a nice portal as well. Let's see, very quickly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we did talk about EDI already, of electronically transmitting everything throughout the supply chain, the purchase request, the orders, the status, the in transit, the vendors, everything So EDI enables that, as we talked about. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. Here's just a visual of the old way. If you have information flows, so here's a purchase requisition, purchase department, purchase order, invoice, goes in the mail, it goes to the vendor, throughout all these different departments. So by the time it gets to everybody, it takes a long time, a lot of effort. And if you basically create a cloud-based system and transmit your department through a procurement system that takes care of all of it. You go online, you submit what you want, and all that information, the request for bids, gets sent out automatically to different vendors. They send their bids, the system analyzes it, it selects the vendors, it sends the purchase orders, and it does it all automatically. So I know that's a little redundant, sorry, but anyway, value added is basically when you can consolidate different players in the supply chain into one central space and create sort of a seamless communications channel. Same idea. Okay, let's see here. Let me keep going here. There was one last thing I wanted to mention to you. RFID is actually a mature technology. The easiest way for you to visualize this is think Easy Pass. That's RFID. When you drive your car through the Easy Pass, it sends a radio frequency code with your information that goes into a computer, keeps track of your car and the toll, and then sends you a bill at the end of the month and so on. But it's used quite a bit now in the supply chain process to keep track of inventory and work in process and so on. And basically, let's see. Okay, think about, all right, here's an example of how important RFID. Let's say you're a Rite Aid pharmacy and you have for years been using barcodes and scanners, and you give your employees these barcode readers, and they go through and one by one scan the inventory that's coming in. They unload the boxes, they scan them, they put them on a cart, and they take them out to the shelf. Well, with RFID, you put these little tags in on every product. You put them in big boxes, and then you can just put an entire pallet load of boxes through an RFID reader. And because the information is transmitted by radio waves, when you push your pallet load of thousands of items in these boxes, it all gets read and put into the computer in one fell swoop. So it takes like 2 seconds instead of 2 days. So RFID is huge in supply chain management. Let's see, and I think, the last thing is, again, going back to your application of this for your clients, what I'm going to be asking you to do is to find information systems that will help your clients become more efficient, more effective, reduce costs, and what we've been talking about. So one thing I have been doing is I've been trying to integrate some of these as students and teams have been finding them. I've been focusing mostly on small business, but I'll be asking you to go out understanding what your clients' limitations and problems are, and seeing if you can find software to help them automate, become more productive and efficient, and so on. And I just wanted to close out this chapter to show you this portal I've been creating here, and hopefully it won't freeze on us. Okay, so this is an economic development project I've been working on for a number of years, but I've been trying to document interesting software solutions. So I just wanted to show you this as a starting point, and then you can do additional research that's better systems that are more specific. So transactional systems would be like accounting, and so here's Xero, there's Wave. You all know about QuickBooks. I didn't even put it in here because it's so common, but these are other alternatives. That's a transactional system. Accounting. CRM is more of an enterprise system that basically tracks everything about your customer, so all customer information is in one central space, no matter where you are in the company, whether you're in sales or customer support or anything dealing with the customer. It's all in one central database. So these are some common ones that you can start with. Here's a restaurant specific CRM. Let's see here, Zoho. Here's a one for lawyers, a CRM for lawyers. Inventory management is going back to more transactional systems, so these are just very specific for just inventory management. Procurement, Procurify is one for small business. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. But you can see it takes you to the website. Again, let's see. Point of sale, if you're dealing with restaurants or retail, rather than having big, old, awkward cash register systems, there's these new mobile iPad-based systems that often integrate with inventory management and so on. So they'll, they take orders, they send, in restaurants, they'll send the order to the kitchen and so on. Here's another transaction one, scheduling, social media management, because in reaching customers, social media, of course, is huge. So here, these basically are information systems that kind of manage your Facebook, your Twitter, your YouTube, your LinkedIn, whatever. Okay, another transactional system, HR. And then here's only one supply chain management integrated system that we have found to this point, but you may find some more. And then finally, ERP is when you try to integrate all the systems, customer relationship management, supply chain, accounting, finance. If you can put it all into one consolidated space, that's really your ideal. And so there were a few here for restaurants, Toast, for pet grooming, Kennelink, Versa accounts, more generalized. Another transactional system. I really should make this more organized. But anyway, just a starting point that I wanted to show you, and then you'll be starting to do your search, which I think you'll find very interesting. All right. Well, on that note, I think I'll close this out and see you in the discussion forums. Thank you.